Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I shop at Home Depot periodically. In fact, I've shopped there 3 or 4 times in the last month, buying things like wood screws, grass seed, Quickcrete, 2x4s, and a whole host of other things. Got chores to do. I run out and shop at Home Depot. Home Depot rarely actually has live checkout people at a counter. At least I haven't seen them there lately. So I always go through the self-checkout. I use a kiosk. So T, just a letter, sent me this story. It said, Steve, check out this one from Top Class Actions. Home Depot is sued for allegedly using facial recognition at self-checkout kiosks without consent. I'll tell you right now, I did not know they were using facial recognition on me. And that does bother me. And so the weird part is that they've already got me scanning stuff and pushing buttons and answering dumb questions like I want to give them my email address so they can email me my receipt and then send me tons of spam until the day the internet dies. So I would prefer not to be facially scanned, but apparently I was. So a new class action lawsuit accuses Home Depot of collecting biometric data from customers without their consent. A plaintiff filed the class action complaint against Home Depot this month in Illinois federal court, alleging violations of that state's privacy laws. So this is a class action, but in Illinois at this point. The man alleges Home Depot has been collecting biometric data from customers without their consent, which violates an Illinois state law on biometric information privacy. That act, passed by the Illinois legislature, regulates the collection, use, and storage of biometric identifiers, such as facial geometry. Now, I'll admit, it didn't hurt when they did this to me because I didn't know it happened. But I don't know, I kind of like to know, I guess, that if someone's scanning my face and storing that information, I think I should have the right to know that. It requires private entities to develop publicly available written policies for retaining and destroying biometric data and to obtain informed written consent from individuals before collecting their biometric information. According to information in the lawsuit, Home Depot has been using this technology in its stores to collect customers' facial geometry. The company reportedly announced in August of 2023 that it had begun using computer vision in its stores, a type of artificial intelligence that uses machine learning to derive information from digital images and videos. In May of 2024, Home Depot had expanded its use of the technology to help mitigate theft at self-checkout stations, the lawsuit says. So follow the logic. There was a time when they had cash registers and cashiers, and they had, aisles like grocery stores did back in the old days, the old A&P stores. Remember them? And then to save money, they installed these self-checkout kiosks. And it turns out that with a self-checkout kiosk section, you can have 4 of them and one person manning all 4 of them. But a lot of inventory started walking out the door. So do we bring in more people? No. Bring in more programs, computer vision. So the plaintiff alleges that Home Depot's use of facial recognition technology violates the statute I mentioned earlier because the company did not make its retention policies publicly available and did not obtain customers' informed written consent before collecting their biometric data. I wonder if a nationwide chain like Home Depot even thought that there might be such a law in Illinois. That's why they need to have a good legal department and have people who are on top of these things. So the plaintiff regularly shops at Home Depot in Chicago, says he noticed a camera and a screen at a self-checkout kiosk during a recent visit. He says he saw his image on the screen with a green box around his face, indicating that the system was capturing his facial geometry. The plaintiff claims that Home Depot has failed to satisfy its legal obligations under the law and has disregarded customers' rights to privacy. Now, I know some people are going to say, Steve, he's in a public space. In fact, he's actually on private property, but he's been invited in, so he's legally allowed to be there. So he has no right to privacy. Well, under Illinois law, he does, at the very least. But I am also bothered by the fact that I go up to a kiosk ostensibly to buy something, and it's scanning me and taking photographs of my face and making calculations and stuff and keeping that data for future reference. He's looking, this is the plaintiff, to represent all individuals who had their facial geometry collected while visiting a Home Depot in Illinois. He's suing for violations of that act and wants to get the class certified. And I've mentioned that before. Class actions filed by one person or several people, but as an individual action on their own behalves, okay? And then they allege that we represent a larger class of people similarly situated. And then if the court looks at it and says, yes, it appears there is a class, and people say, Steve, what's the magic number? 10, 20, 100? How many people need to be in the class? And the courts have said that it's not a magic number. It's whether or not it makes more sense for judicial economy and a few other factors to try them individually or as a class. So I once had a case where my client had been wronged and I filed an action on her behalf. I discovered there's a whole class of people out there just like her. And so I filed a second action with a second plaintiff, but I asked for class certification on that one when the first case had settled. And my opposing counsel actually said, I'm going to fight you in the class certification. And I said, really, why? And he goes, I don't think the class is large enough, but also we just don't like class actions. Well, who does? But when we went into court and fought it, I said to the judge, I said, well, Your Honor, I can just start filing these individually. And he said, how many do you have? And I told him, he said, I'd rather try it as a class. So this man's looking to represent all individuals similarly situated. He's also seeking certification of the class, damages, fees, costs, and they've asked for a jury trial. But as you know, the vast majority of these cases settle out of court. So in 2024, consumers had sued Home Depot over claims that it used fake reference prices to mislead them into believing that items are discounted. I also do recall a case where somebody had sued Home Depot, claiming that it was deceptive to call a board a 2x4, when under modern standards, they're no longer 2 inches by 4 inches. They're slightly smaller. But everyone should know that. I'm not sure what happened to that lawsuit, but I know that I did that story around the same time I was doing the stories about, strawberry Pop-Tarts not containing actual strawberries. So the lawsuit may have settled. It may have gone away for some reason, but I never saw a follow-up on it. So this one right here is Home Depot. When you are doing the work for them, scanning and checking out your own stuff, they're also using facial recognition, gathering biometric data about your face, and apparently storing that somewhere. And you might say, Steve, I've been listening now for this entire video, and I've not heard you say how that harms you. How does that harm you? Well, I can think of one right off the bat. Let's suppose that the police go to Home Depot and say, guys, we think somebody came through here the other day who may have been a criminal. Can we have access to your biometric facial recognition data? Oh, sure. You guys are the cops. You're the good guys. I just worry about data that's been gathered and how it can be misused down the road. I'd just rather not have you gather data about me if I can avoid it. And so I don't know. Next time I go to Home Depot, maybe I'll wear a hat and sunglasses. Maybe I will just for checkout. Maybe I will. So T, thanks for sending that. Top Class Actions ran it. Recent lawsuit filed. Home Depot is sued for allegedly using facial recognition at self-checkout kiosks without consent, but that lawsuit right now is in Illinois. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Press any key to continue or any other key to quit.